Welcome back to the Nanaimo Now Channel. I'm your host, Guaylau60. I'll always be your host on this channel, and that's the way it is. I traveled across the western provinces here, as you saw in my last video, through the mountains of BC, through Alberta, into Saskatchewan, northern Saskatchewan, where I went to Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, the third most dangerous city in the entire country. And I thought, well, you see, I used to run a collection agency repossession business in Prince Albert up until 2014. And I thought, well, it can't be that bad. I'm not a big guy and I can handle myself in Prince Albert. And then I go down to the Gateway Mall, downtown Prince Albert, in the middle of the city. And there's like 5 stores open. Everything else is closed. You go down the streets and it's boarded up. The place is like seriously gone into economic shutdown. There's gangs, there's drugs, there's prostitution, there's no growth. The whole place is just going to rat shit. So, but in Nanaimo, like, as I say, I've been in China for a number of years, and I just came back here in February. And in Nanaimo, I see the same thing. When I left, there was 300 homeless people, they say. There's probably more. But by the time I got back, they say there's 600, probably more, in the downtown core. They had tent city, discontent city, mind you, and I made a video about that. You might want to go back into the Guaylau 60 days back. Oh, it's got to be 2018, I think. And you had I think it was the Sons of Odin on one side, and you had the homeless people in Discontent City on the other side. And you had me in the middle with a camera, no brains, no feeling, no foul type thing. It was one of those surreal moments. So what did the city of Nanaimo do? They put up temporary housing. 3 years ago, that's still there. So it's not temporary housing. It's permanent temporary housing. It's trailers for homeless people. Better than tents? Probably, but I think there's got to be a better solution than giving homeless people homes and properties that are surrounded by $1 million homes. You know what I mean? Like when I buy a property, I can only afford to buy a property in my price range. So you too. Oh, okay. But the homeless people, they want oceanfront property. They want to be looking over Departure Bay or Maffeo Sutton Park. And you think that it's dangerous. Oh, and then Saskatchewan. So I get back from Saskatchewan. I'll leave the homeless thing here for a little bit. I get back from Saskatchewan. And I start watching the news, and the Sanderson boys, Miles and Damien, went frickin' berserk on the Jane Smith Indian Reserve and killed 10 people and injured, I think, 18, if I'm not mistaken. One of the people that was killed was Wes Pedersen. He's a guy from Weldon, Saskatchewan. And if anybody watches my Guaylau 60 channel over the other channel that I have, I grew up in Weldon, Saskatchewan. I spent my younger years up to my teen years before I moved out of home in Weldon, Saskatchewan, a village of about 160 people right now. I think at its peak back in the 70s, it was about 275, 280 people. But these fine young lads on their way out of James Smith Indian Reserve after killing a bunch of their neighbors and stabbing a bunch of other people and hurting them, they decided to stop by Weldon to see if they couldn't pick up another vehicle. They go into Wes's place, he wouldn't give up the vehicle, so they killed him. They would have probably killed him anyway, you know what I mean? But you know, the idea of stuff like this happening, it's happening more and more in Canada. I see it in one day in Saskatchewan. with the Sanderson boys going nuts on the James Smith Indian Reserve, Cree First Nation, whatever you want to call it. There was a shooting on Wichikin. Wichikin is another Indian Reserve, and another one by Maidstone. And these all had Saskatchewan emergency alerts go out on people's cell phone. They're getting pissed off. Their cell phone was going off. But you see, this is a thing that you see here in Canada more than you did years ago. Even in 2014, when I pulled the plug and retired, things weren't like this. What has changed? What has changed in Canada since 2014? Yeah, the Liberal government, the Liberal government. How does that saying go? Every time I get my shit together, some Liberal comes along and eats it. And that's exactly what they've done to the economy of Canada. And you see, it all stems back to the economy. People have no money. They live in tents. They have no hope for the future. They decide that it's easier to go to prison for the rest of their life. It's easier to just commit suicide. It's easier to take out your neighbors and then take out yourself, because that's exactly what happened to the Sanderson boys. I think Miles probably killed Damien, and then Miles, they caught up to him, I think, yesterday by roster, and it's about halfway between Prince Albert and Saskatoon in another stolen vehicle, of course, you know, and he actually hurt himself bad enough that when the police got him and took him to the hospital, he died. So we'll never know what was going through these guys' minds. Or with this Melvin Sanderson, one guy from Wichikin, I actually know that guy. He's not the smartest cat I've ever come across. But you see all of this going on and on and on over the last number of years. Back in 2010, it wasn't like this. As I say, why? Because of the Liberal government. You spend like a drunken sailor. You have policy that screws with the economics of provinces like Alberta. Well, actually every province across the country, except for maybe Quebec and Ontario, where they've got the voters, and the voters are like money to politicians. So you don't want to screw with these people. You only want to screw with the small provinces that their vote doesn't count. And we know in Saskatchewan, it doesn't count. We know in Alberta, hardly anybody there. The eastern provinces, who gives a rat's ass? You know, so you see all of this stuff going on in Canada today, and you got to blame it on the politicians, because without the politicians and their economic woke outlook on the world, it wouldn't be like this. Under Stephen Harper, it wasn't like that. Pierre Poilievre is going to be announced tomorrow, I think it is, the new leader of the Conservative Party. He's the only best chance that we have. It's just like, and I don't know whether he's, you know, he's grew up in he's got a French name, but he grew up in Calgary. He was an orphan, and I think he's got more of an understanding of what actually needs to be done, especially in the western provinces. I'm not sure about Quebec and Ontario. That's a world away from where we live here on Vancouver Island. I'm in Nanaimo. You know, I look at this stuff, and I don't know where we should turn. You've got guys that think they're girls, girls that think they're guys. You've got people that don't think that they're anything, and they want to be called they, them, and whatever, non-binary, or and if you don't call me this, how dare you? You know, that's a violent act towards me. Well, the idea that you expect us to call you stuff like this is a violent act towards me in my thinking, because that's just not normal. So you got all of these things going on. You got the homeless people. You've got interest rates going through the frickin' roof. Oh, but being an older person that is a saver. See, this is a good thing for me, because everybody else is whining and crying. My mortgage payment's going up. I can't afford to borrow. I can't. Free money was only there for a little while. Well, that's sort of a good thing. Housing prices are still going up. Even though interest rates are going up, housing prices are still going up. So you've got, the economics of Canada is the shits right now. You've got more homeless people. You've got more violence. You've got people that don't understand what a guy or a girl actually is. You've got, you've got all of these things going on in a country that just 8-9 years ago was a normal country. Now it has no direction. It has no future as we see it right now. Then you get the NDP and the Liberals, because neither of these, you know what I mean? Neither of these parties can do things on their own. So what they do is they get together and use your votes in a way that you didn't vote for. But you see, they're politicians. They don't give a rat's ass. They give a fuck what you think, what you want. As soon as they've got your vote, as soon as they're in power, they'll do exactly what they want. It doesn't matter. And I think Pierre probably will do the same thing. Let's give him a chance and see what happens there. But the future of Canada is sort of on a tipping point right now. I'm not sure whether I want to live in this country, because it is the way it is now. Coming from a place like China, where the economy is getting better and better each year. There's no violence. There's no violence on the streets. You've got high-speed trains. You've got amazing roads. You've got high rises. Everybody's employed that wants to be employed. You don't have these social welfare nets that people live on, and that generation after generation after generation. You don't work. You go hungry type thing. They do have social welfare for people with disabilities and whatever, but it's a different world. And it's not just in China. It's not just in Vietnam. It's not just in Laos. It's not just in Singapore or Malaysia or Indonesia. That whole area is exactly the same. You get caught with drugs over there, they will throw you in jail. You get caught with enough drugs over there, they will put you in the grave. And that's the way it is, because they've already been through all of this shit. The opium wars in China back in the day, where it ruined the economy of China. It ruined the whole society for a number of years. And they know what it's all about. Now you've got these young countries like Canada, 3.5 grams of freaking heroin you can have in your pocket and the police can't arrest you, but you grow 5 plants of marijuana and they can. You know what I mean? Like, oh, there's something wrong here. We had a stabbing in Maffeo Sutton Park the other day, 2 days ago, and the guy died. A disabled guy died. They arrested 2 people. They had to let him go because they didn't have enough evidence to hold them. So it's not just in Saskatchewan. It's not just in Alberta. It's not just, it's across the country. This is a plague that we're dealing with. And as I say, it all comes back to economics. If you don't have a chance to better yourself, if you don't have the education, if you don't have if you can't afford a home, and you'll never be able to afford a home, now what do? And you go to McDonald's and you get a job, and it's not even, you don't even make enough money to pay rent and food for yourself. Where do you go from there? How does a country get into a position like this? Bad fiscal policy by your federal government. The province is falling along like sheep, and everybody not speaking up. Speak up. Do something. Vote right. Don't vote for somebody that's going to legalize marijuana. Don't vote for somebody that has that doesn't think about monetary policy. Don't vote for somebody that wears blackface. Don't vote for somebody that calls down other people for having different views. Don't vote for those people. Am I getting through? Does any of this make sense to you guys? Anyway, that's another Nanaimo Now rant, because last week we were doing the tourist thing, going through the mountains and into Banff, and it was beautiful and stuff. Yes, Canada's a beautiful country. The policies are terrible. The economics are even worse. The violence is on the uprise, and people are losing hope in this country. So let's see if we can't get back on track. Anyway, that's another video on the Nanaimo Now channel. If you like this video, like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, peace out. Bye now.